Hello, Summit. So here I want to take you through the process of how to prepare your English trouser. Tell you the parts to gum and where not to gum. So this is my pocket facing. This is my flap. I will take you through the gumming process right now. This is the web pocket placket. I'll show you where to gum and where not to gum. And this is my band, which I'll also be telling you the names of the gums I used on each of these gumming processes. And I'll also show you how to gum the front pockets, how to place your gum to gum it properly. And then I'll also take you through the process of how to cut your linings, both for the trouser lining, which is this one, both for your zip fly lining, both for your front pocket lining, and for your Welt back pocket lining. So if this sounds like what you want to learn, kindly watch the very end and don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. So let's get right into it. Hello, Summit. So here we want to start the gumming process of our English trouser. Please note importantly that this gumming process is also very important, that you must gum in accordance to my directions. So here, remember I told you guys that we have two fabrics we cut together, but then we're going to use one in our tutorial in stitching. But let us gum them together. So you take what they call paper gum or gum stain, the one that's like paper, the paper gum or the gum stain. This is the one you must use in gumming the pocket region. So here you cut it out in this form. The width of the gumming might be 1 inch thereabout. Place it in a diagonal form on the notched line this way, and then you gum this point. You gum this point. So make sure you gum it this way. Now the gum has front and back, like it has the sticky area and it has the non-sticky area. The sticky area is the part that has the shiny dotted line like effect. So that's the part you will use in gumming. So I prefer using my steam iron because it is more friendly in gumming, right? Now, most of these gums, most times, they might not have enough gum to stick. So you must make sure that you gum it very well, where the gums will stick properly. So you gum in this direction. So after gumming these parts, so the next thing you are going to do is to fold it in that angular form, making sure that the both notches will be your guide. The notch at the up will be your guide to gum this way, and the notch at the base here will also be your guide. So you now iron nicely. Make sure your iron is not shining or dropping any dents on the fabric, right? After you have gummed this, then remember it's two trousers, so just turn it over the other way around and then gum the other end as well. Bear in mind, we are gumming the wrong side. The front is not gummed though, don't forget. So here, you also place it in a diagonal form this way, placing the gum where it will, lap properly this way, and then you gum. So you must do this, so there's no other way I know you can avoid this. You must gum this trouser before you think of sewing. So don't think your sewing process is only cutting. The gumming is another stage that most sellers do have issues on while working. So make sure you don't have issues on gumming. Take your time, gum, make sure the gum is sticking properly. So once it has gotten to this damp effect, then fold again. The notched areas are your guideline, or are your what's it called? Yeah, your guideline. So you also gum. So this is how to gum the front pocket, right? So once you have done this way, you are done with the front pocket. All right, so now after you must have finished gumming the pocket, so the zip fly is what you gum next. This is the zip fly. Make sure that both the straight parts are facing each other. The wrong sides must stay in this form. Then you place them all through this way, and then you are going to place this in this form. So now once you have gotten this stage, it's advisable that you trim out this gum in this form. Trim it out in this form and make sure that all of these things are being cut out. Please cut exactly what you need. Don't allow the gum to be excess, and then you gum. Remember, I'm gumming the two of them together. So you gum. So any part that is not complete, you can patch it up. This little parts, you can place it this way and patch it up. So after, you must make sure that the gum must melt. You must see the damp effect or the wet effect, so that it won't pull off when you are doing your sewing properly. Then you go all through this way. Now, once you have gotten to this stage, so the next thing we're going to do now is to trim. You just slit here, then you trim the excess hairstay, trim it out. Make sure you trim in a very gentle manner. Trim all through this way. Trim all through this way. Then trim as well. So once you have trimmed out these parts, you also trim the other one. That if you have two trousers, right? Now, please bear in mind that what I'm gumming now is called the zip fly. It's not the pocket facing. The pocket facing is on gum, right? You don't need to gum this. So don't make the mistake to gum the pocket facing. So just gum only the zip fly. Trim it out. I know why I'm showing you these whole tutorials in detail, so that once you have taken your time to go through my processes or the procedures I used in the drafting, you go through the gumming stage, you won't have issue again on English trouser. That is the truth, right? That is the truth. So this is how it is. So here you gum this. So now after this, now the next you will battle with is the Welt pocket placket. Now remember that the Welt pocket placket, I told you guys, is pair for one trouser, right? It's pair for one trouser. So here you pair them. So I will cut out this stuff. This stuff, this one is melting. So I will try my best to avoid touching iron there. So I'm gumming just this way. So I'm using like 3 inches hairstay and gum stay to gum this. So just gum the midpoint this way. So just gum the middle, just like this. Gum the middle. And then after which you trim out this in this form. Trim it out in this form. Cut out this as well. Cut out this as well. Cut this out this way. And this is how the Welt pocket placket to be gummed. So you gum this 2 times, what is too nice for one pocket. So you make sure you gum the second set. So you are gumming at the wrong side though, the back, not the front. So still place your gum there properly like this, and then you gum. So anything you see me do, please make sure you do exact of what I am doing right here. Make sure you're doing exact of what you are seeing me do right here. Don't have alternative measures or shortcuts, because it might not work. So that when you have questions and ask, I will be able to respond accordingly, right? But if you change the method, I will not be able to respond or know exactly where the error might come from. So after you have gummed, now the next I'll show you is the band as well. So now we are done with the gumming of the Welt pocket placket and the flap, right? So you make sure that everything is properly gummed. So once you're done with it, the next you're going to do now is the band. Now the waistband, we are going to use what they call collar gum to do that. So the collar gum we are going to use is a collar gum that is a medium texture, not the too thick. Even if this one looks thick actually, but then the actual version of this should be the medium texture that is not too strong, not too thick. This color gum helps your band to relax perfectly. So I will show you how to draft or how to use this as well. So this is too big. I'll just tear it into two and then bring out one part. So now you will use your pen and mark your baseline. You use a pen and mark your baseline. So here, I will, arrange it properly this way. Then bring pen and ruler, mark your baseline. Then mark 1.1, 1.2 for your band width. So now you place your ruler in this form, and then you will mark a perfect straight baseline. And make sure that when you're marking this pen stuff, make sure that you're not using this to cut on to sew on white. If you're using to sew on white, don't use pen, use chalk, because white fabrics, the pen might bleed and it will stain the fabric, right? So here, since I'm using it on a black and navy blue fabric, that's why I'm using pen. So the width of the band is 1.25, 1.25, 1.2, 1.15. Don't make it to be more than this so that your band will not be too big. So I'm doing this 1.25 or 1.3. That's the maximum. My band is not up to 1.5. That is why my measurements corresponds, because if you want to use my pattern in drafting, you must also use my components, the measurements of my components of my trouser to work on your outfit. So once you cut out this, you cut this twice because this is like one part of the band, right? So I will mark another one, 1.25 or 1.3. Make sure that it doesn't exceed that value. So connect the lines this way. Now there are also some instances where you can use your gum stay, but then I think I prefer this color gum finish because it gives your band that rigid feel on your waistline. So I will cut out this, then I will show you how to gum the band as well. All right, so we finished gutting, then let's gum. Now please watch, when gumming this, you must make sure that you gum with precision, like following the pattern. Now you must make sure you give half an inch off from the base of the band. Don't gum it from here for easier fixing. So face half an inch off from here, which is very important, right? So you now gum all through this way. So this half an inch you are leaving is the gap or the inch we use to fix this band on the trouser. So it makes the work a whole lot easier for you. So gum it half an inch off from the band base. So gum all through. So make sure you gum all through to the very end. So this is how it is. So once you have gotten to this point, gum all through to the very end. So once you have gotten to this point, so the next thing you will do now is to gum the back. So at this stage, you will not need to start folding. So the folding will come after you have joined this to the band. I will show you how all of these things are done. Make sure you stick around, watch to the very end, and don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is the only channel that can teach you this in detail. If you check elsewhere, you might not be able to see all of these my illustrations in full detail like this. Trying to make sure that I don't take, okay, let's go with this. So this is making sure you also place half an inch away, and then you gum as well. You gum as well. Gum all through. So this is the point where everything about this your gumming must be well informed. So you measure the band. This is 23. That is more than enough. 23, and this one is um 26, which is okay. So this is for the one of the band, right? So invariably we are done gumming. The next you see now is on the lining, cutting, and pocketing cuttings. Then subsequently the sewing tutorial. All right, so now we want to cut the trouser lining. So the first thing you will do is to make sure that you have a suit. It's called a suit lining, right? I try to buy those fanciful ones, that will make your work to look neater and perfect inside. So now this lining has a measurement, right? And this is because I'm cutting two lining. That's why I'm double folding at this hour. So if you're cutting one trouser, please don't double fold. Like, don't make it on 4 layers. So I'm just trying to make everything come out at once. So now I just double folded because I'm cutting for two trousers. But if you're cutting for one, use one lining to cut. Then the English mouth of the lining should be at the down parts of your trouser. Then you bring the front panel just like this. You place it in a way that the trouser, the height or the length of the lining will be around 18 to 19 inches. So make sure you don't exceed that value, 18 to 19 inches, right? So once you have gotten to that point, now please note importantly, there is a trick which I use in my lining cutting. I make sure that I don't cut the lining to be equal with the trouser width. I cut it to be a bit wider so that when I am sewing, I will not pleat the excesses at the center. Now the reason for that is that it makes the trouser to have that comfort at the inside without shrinking or being shorter than the actual trouser value. So here the length is 19, 18, 19, 20, depends on the length of trouser. And then I am cutting from this direction, just this way, cutting from here, cutting from here out to this very point, then cutting off the excesses, and then I will just push this trouser lining, the main trouser rather, to get to the extreme. I'll push this to get to this very point, just like this, and then I will cut this shape here. Remember that the trouser is not straight at the side, right? So you must also replicate this shape. It's very important that you must replicate the shape. Then at the side here, it can now go straight. That is one of the tricks you must learn. So when you carefully do this, you won't have any problems or whatsoever. Then slit this to this very point. And after you have done this first cutting, so the next you will do now for easier understanding, just flip it over where you can see properly. Then place it equally with this, and then pleat the midpoints until the side corresponds. Then you find the center and iron the center point. That is what I'm trying to say in a nutshell. So this helps your lining to be a bit wider than the trouser value. It helps to give you fitting and comfort at the inside without shrinking or contracting the trouser width measurements. So take your time to do this. So, and you must make sure you also do this. It's very important as well. You can't ignore it. It's very important so that you learn everything at once. So if you have gotten this value from this video, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my new YouTube channel at Fashion Priest. So this is what I mean by trouser lining cutting. So I'll go ahead and cut the pocketing for the front pocket, so which the value or the measurement is 13 by 13. 13 inches width by 13. But I think let's cut them together. So just hold this way. Hold this way, and then I'm cutting the first one out. Let me cut out this first one, 13 by 13. So this is perfect. You see how you manage your lining so that you don't waste it. This is 7 is okay. So 13 length is what I'm looking for. So here is okay. So I will just cut out this from here. Then I will make sure I slit the other edge. You don't slit the center fold though. Don't slit here. Just slit the edges. Just slit the edges. I can just reduce the width if it's longer than I want. Carefully make sure it's lapping, and then measure your 13 inches or 7 inches, anyone. Then reduce it at once. Then the length, I told you guys, is also 13. So you also make sure you measure 13 inches or 14 inches, and then you can try to make it a curve or make it a square at the base. There's no problem. So once you're done with this, you open up the lining. Remember, it's for 2 trousers. If you're making for 1 trouser, please, you only cut two pieces. So here it's going to give us, now you bring 1 layer or 1 part, just like this. Then you measure 7 inches depth, put a notch there, and come here 1.5 inch inside, put a slash there on one end of all of the components. Bear in mind that the front of the lining must face each other. That's the trick. They must face each other this way. So you do that. That's the pocketing for the front pockets. And then the next pocketing you will cut is for the welt pocket. Now, for the welt pocket, we are going to cut it at 10 by 8. Remember, we are cutting 2 trousers. So we are going to cut 10 by 8. And that 10 by 8 is on fold. The 10 inches on fold, while the 8 inches is not on fold. So we are going to cut 10 by 8. So you fold this way. This is for 2 trousers, right? You fold this way. Then 10 inches length by width of 8 inches. So if you are opening it up to cut, it should be 20 by 8. So all these measurements are important that you master them now, so that you don't have issues when you are cutting yours. So this is enough. This is enough for 10. So here is 10 exact, and then 8 inches width. So you're gonna cut from here. So cut it from here, and make sure it goes all through this way. So cut from here all through this way. So this is what you have. So this one now is for 1 pocket. So I will just slit it from here. So for 1 trouser there. So here is for 1 trouser. So I will fit from here, and I'm okay with this. Then I also slit the second one just this way as well, and I will be okay with that as well. So that is for the lining cutting. So the last part of the lining you will cut is for the zip fly closure. There's a lining that we need for our zip closure, which you will see when we start. So here you can cut it to be 5 inches width by length of 13 or more than 13. So you will just fold 1 edge this way. I will show you how it's being used when we start our sewing. So just cut 5 inches width by maybe 16 thereabout, so that you have enough space or enough measurements when you are folding. So just fold 1 edge this way. Alright, so I believe this video must have shown you a clearer understanding on how to gum your English trouser, and how to also cut the linings. So the next video you will see will be on how to stitch all of these components. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye bye for now.